Yes, that's easy to do.
Ready when you are.
On you go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey YouTube!
What, eh? Oh, hold on, yeah. Hey YouTube.
Hey YouTube!
Hey
back,
YouTube.
back for
Shout at the speaker.
series 2 of Saturday Up at Scott's.
Yes.
So we're on, and I put the mic a bit closer so hopefully...
Yeah, and I'm going to shout at the microphone and... No, I won't shout at the microphone.
Yeah.
So we're doing IBANEZ Day.
Get away. IBANEZ Day, so we've got...
Well, we're starting off with IBANEZ Day, so we've got S-Type and Joe Satriani, GS100.
GS100. Yes.
And this is an S320 and it's made in Korea. No, it's not. It's made in Indonesia in 2001. It's
Cool.
Quite an old lady.
2000, it's vintage.
It's vintage.
Proper vintage this year.
Proper vintage, mate.
Is this a GS100 Satriani model with
Yeah.
C for court probably? What does that say at the start?
This one starts with an I0901.
Don't know. On
330.
Squires, IC stands for Indonesian court. That stands for Indonesia, but this, I think C would stand for... I was going to say it can't be China because it says made in Korea and below it.
Korea, yeah, but this one's actually quite... I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera. It's got quite a nice flame on the neck. It's a 3-piece wizard neck.
Oh, is that the wizard in that one?
Yeah, but this is the one that's got the kind of shoulders on it, slight shoulders.
That
slightly.
is a wizard, wizard
yeah,
2.
Wizard 2. The other one that I've got, which is roughly the same age, has not got the shoulders. It's got the kind of more comfortable.
There was another one at the time you could get. I wasn't sure. The RG, I had an RG 321 MH about the same year.
Yeah.
It had the same paint that got chipped off, so I sanded it and I think it ended up painted fluorescent orange or something.
Yeah, this is a WB, well, weather black, and it's like lots of the guitars that feature in this thing. It's a thin skin finish.
Yeah.
But this is on a mahogany body, and it's really, I don't know if you can hold that up to the camera if you can see.
It's grainy. You can see it.
Well, it is. It's, they don't use filler when they're painting them. So you can see this one's completely chipped because I'm a bit of an arsehole when playing the guitar. It looks like it's been eaten.
Yeah.
But it's got...
That's real relicing, man.
Yeah. But the headstock's nice. It's got the shiny IBANEZ S-type. The S stands for sabre. And there's the back. And it's got a fancy schmancy treble, which we'll address later.
Just address it, but I mean, yes.
Yeah, it's got the Z, what is it they call it? Zero?
I think
IBANEZ Edge Zero.
Edge Zero. There might be an Edge 10 or an Edge 20.
I think this will be the first iteration because...
No, a Low Pro Z something.
Yeah,
is that?
No, I think this is...
There is one called a
Low
Pro
Zero because it's got the 0 point. It's got 2 sets of springs. If you look in the back, you'll see there's a set of strings and one of them works for the tremolo arm going down. See the ones there? And when you pull back, it relies on the other ones at the other side. You can't actually see that.
You can actually see that working quite. I was showing this up. Yeah. This is what a normal treble looks like a strap one.
Yeah, but
all you're doing is it's the strings pulling against these springs, whereas that one's got an extra wee spring in the middle
that pulls it the other way.
That pulls it the other way
for that and actually holds it in that position. The idea is that if you break a string, or when you're doing bends, it doesn't affect the other strings quite so much as a tremolo without it does, as you'll notice when you try to bend anything.
Yes. Well, the way I get around it by just never really bending anything or using a tremolo.
Yeah. But that's the thing about it. So this one's kind of doesn't really do that as much, and if you break a string, it doesn't go wildly out of tune. It still goes slightly sharp.
Yeah.
But they require quite a lot of maintenance. So you have to take them apart and kind of inside to get a bit loose, and you get a tiny bit of play in it.
Yeah.
So it's a real annoying thing when your guitar's up loud.
Uh-huh.
So you have to go inside and basically tighten everything up.
Yeah, I've found that before with the
Yeah.
Floyd Roses.
But once you set
just
it,
take the whole thing
Yeah.
completely to bits, clean it, put it back together again,
Yeah.
because every wee bit's got bits that stick between them.
Yes.
Even just
set it and forget it. Though this one isn't set properly. See if you look at it, it's not quite. It's supposed
Yeah.
to be, that's supposed to be parallel.
completely
that,
flush.
That one there.
Mm-hmm.
The middle one's supposed to be parallel with the guitar. And
Right.
This one
Yeah.
sits,
Yeah. It's sitting high. I don't think.
sits slightly.
Can't probably
It sits
hit that.
kind of
Oh, maybe. Oh,
slightly.
actually,
Yeah, it
possibly.
sits slightly forward, so it's not on the perfect point.
So it's not on the 0 point. It's on the
it's
minus
not
1 point
on
or the,
yeah,
or the
kind of
plus
thing.
1
So
point.
it's not. So you've got a. There's a bit in the middle that you get to, and there's a click almost.
Yeah.
Microphonic is fudge. This guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really microphonic.
Yeah.
This guitar.
I think that maybe because I've had those pickups before.
This is
And they weren't microphonic. I think maybe it's just like
I
see
think there's maybe a wire.
they've maybe dried out,
Possibly.
like the wire or something.
Yeah.
It's maybe been somewhere really hot. Because I've got a set of DeMarco Super Distortions for the 70s that look pure
Yeah.
amazing, sound pure amazing, but they're that microphonic.
Yeah, this is Infinity 1 and 2s that are in this. It's quite a nice guitar. I actually really like them. They're quite light.
They're pure thin.
Yeah,
It's like it kind
well,
of
it's
looks
a very
similar to
thin
what
guitar,
was
yeah.
that? Remember that Ibanez I had a couple of weeks ago? The one that was a similar shape,
Yeah.
but at
well,
the flat back. And
well,
the
the
SA,
SA, yeah, that's
which
with
I can't remember. I think it
it's
said
got-
on it was it's.
slightly thicker.
I can't remember what the A stood for. It did have SA that stands for something that's pure obvious. You go right, aye. But it's basically it's the same on the top, but on the
Yeah.
back instead of being curved down. If you look at the edge of that, it's pure super thin.
Thin. This is a mahogany body, and see if you look at the back of it, it actually looks like one piece. See that?
Yes.
You don't really see any joins at all. And it's mahogany. When you get the paint off of this, it's red mahogany. It's quite dark.
I did see my videos about Ibanez or my
It's
RG.
quite a dark red mahogany that's underneath. It's
I really-
actually quite nice.
I wouldn't mind putting an extra pickup in
Yeah.
it. I wish I hadn't done.
So I think it would probably look nice if I rubbed this down.
I don't know. To be honest, I wish mine was really beat up. I remember being in cash converters, and there were two of them, obviously owned by the same guy, and one of them was pure beat up and was £20 more than the one that was. One was really beat up, and he like scratched his initials with his fingernail into the paint and all that. You're just like.
So one of the nice things about
So I had to take it off,
Yeah.
and I never got the edges to look good. It always
Yeah.
looked.
if you look at the finish, that's still quite dull there. But see, as a player, when you're playing it, you leave your own marks on it. That you can see where my forearm's been, and on my other one, which my daughter's taken, it's her guitar now. It's got a hole here basically where I anchor my fingers, and I've lifted the paint off, and you get to see it nice and orange.
Yeah.
But you can see it all weathers.
See, that was what I really wanted to take out of the one that I bought.
Yeah.
It was the first thing I wanted to do. Was like, right, that paint's coming off.
Do you know these are? I keep going to say this is a budget guitar. This is a budget guitar. You can pick these up for not very much money. I mean,
Yeah.
sub
Well,
300 quid.
Ibanez kind of go.
Yeah.
But the 300 series is about 300 quid.
Yeah.
Kind of the way Yamaha do. I think it might be something to do with yen actually. But like like an Ibanez RG 500 will be 500 odd quid. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then it kind of goes up that way. So if you get an RG 1000 and something, it's £1,000. I think.
Highly recommend it.
Roughly.
It's a budget guitar if you can get it at budget prices. I mean, really, it's got a great tremolo on it, and the pickups aren't brilliant.
They're all right when they work when they're not
Well, do
microphonic.
you know, they're quite microphonic these, but one of the benefits is when you turn that up, it becomes a very alive guitar. It will scream like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, this is an S type. Now, if you look at that one,
This is a Joey Santuni,
a Joey Santana.
which I was going to
Yeah.
say we were kind of talking about this before.
Yeah, well, this one's actually a base model, isn't it? Well, they were released as a base model, and that one has been upgraded.
Yeah.
So whoever had it before me's put the actual Fred and the Universe, I think it's called, or something like that.
There's a one called an Air Norton that I always see
that's the
coming up.
single coil.
Is it? Right.
Yeah. But yeah, that's got the Fred and the Universe. I think I can't. You can.
Maybe no to Steve Vai because obviously it must be
Well,
after,
no, I
must be
think
after his guitar.
it's one of his. It's his set basically. And
Yeah.
It's been done
It's
properly.
also got his 22nd fret. By the
Well,
way.
that's one of the ways you can tell it's a cheap one. The proper one doesn't have.
Right.
But I mean,
'Cause you
to be
should
honest-
know.
To be honest with you, the proper one's kind of constructed in the same way. It's a lot like the difference between Mexican and American, and the difference comes in the hands.
Neither like to
Basically,
get
it's
up early in the morning.
well, the finishing of the
The
neck.
Cheech and Chong
usually-
reference.
You find with the Japanese guitars that the finishing's just that much better across the whole thing,
Yeah, totally.
and that one's not. So I mean, you're getting essentially.
It
the
does
same
have a
guitar.
glossy neck on it. I mean, this is
Right,
like
I mean, it's quite a nice
I
guitar.
really think this is my favourite,
Yeah.
one of my favourite
I think
modern Ibanez
If
because
you,
it's
shut, if you shut your eyes, the playing experience is just the same as the expensive one, and it's been
Yeah.
upgraded as well. When I got that, it came through the post, and it had the bridge had been basically badly damaged. It was broken underneath.
yeah. All right.
Underneath the bridge where it actually anchors to the plate, the bolts and stuff were
Oh,
broken, and then
right,
inside the block had deteriorated in some way
Right,
because it
right.
had been broken. So I had to replace parts, and it was it basically cost me nothing to repair. But had someone got that through the post who didn't know how to repair tremolos, it would have been a useless, unusable guitar.
Yeah.
But after a bit,
That's basically we're looking at your. Scott found an Ibanez, not an Ibanez, a Yamaha
book.
a Yamaha brochure from like we
you
argue
know-
over. I think it's maybe 1990, 1991. He says
It was,
like
yeah, it was in an Alan Holdsworth record sleeve.
Yeah, but as soon as I saw it, my first guitar, my Yamaha RGX
Yeah.
321P with a Floyd Rose was in it, and it was basically back then I didn't know how to operate a Floyd Rose, so it was either sunk away into the body with the strings, or it was up at a 45-degree angle, and it was like.
Yeah, so that one's been upgraded with new pickups. It's actually been upgraded with the bridge. The bridge has been upgraded previously as well, and the electrics and stuff. So somebody's bought the cheap one and just put the expensive stuff on it, which people do. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I suppose it's kind of like maybe it's like a higher purchase thing almost, where you can decide whether you want to go any further. I suppose.
Essentially, you do get the same guitar for a lot less money. That bridge.
It doesn't have the prestige.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Literally,
have, yeah,
the prestige written on the
prestige
headstock.
written on it, you can verify it's a nice guitar in the hand.
I really like it.
Yeah, I quite like the neck carve one. It's
Never
not
really
as-
did into me. It's
yeah.
like a Fender.
Well, yeah, that's the
And
thing.
it's glossy, so it's not one of these satin
Yeah.
things.
But if you look at the body shape, it's almost identical. It's just that one's been softened.
Like an oversucked sweetie.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
It's kind of actually.
It's almost as thin at the sides as well.
It's
not
kind of
flat.
not a million miles away from the
Just the-
Pantera, actually, is it?
It's you're getting
Shape
towards
wise,
that,
it's
yeah.
really just.
So that was originally called the Radius. The Ibanez Radius looked like that, but the configuration here was different, and it came in obviously different Ibanez-y humbucker, single humbucker, you know what I mean? The Ibanez Radius, and it's a brilliant guitar.
It's also got a straight headstock.
Yeah, and it's the neck carve is based off of Joey Santoni's one of these guitars that he played way back in the day before he got the Ibanez.
An old
thing.
Fender or a Charvel or
It's-
something, maybe even
I
like
think
a
it's
handmade
like,
thing.
I think it's a performance thing, so it's going to be a Fender carve,
Yeah.
like a 60s Fender carve. So that's roughly what that guitar has. The neck. It's
Yeah.
not like a wizard neck at all.
No. I remember years ago going into
Yeah.
guitar and trying. Well, when I say look, I was looking for the Satriani, and if I want to see which one I like, I was
Yeah.
looking at this one and whatever the cheapest are, either £100,
Yeah.
£150, whatever it is. It's probably not that cheap. What was it, a couple hundred, 300, something like that?
I think it was about $399.
Right, yeah.
Roughly.
No, so it's not.
I think
We're
you
calling
get-
it the cheapy
yeah,
one, but
the
only
cheapy
because
one.
you get like there's a very obvious real one that's £2,000. But I mean,
Yeah, and it's got a nicer neck and the same stuff on it, basically
Yeah.
the same tuners and the same everything.
yeah.
So that one, the nice thing, see if you hold up that tremolo, the nice thing about those tremolos, the thing to look out for is it's actually got a tensioning screw at the back here. There's a wee hole there that you put an Allen key in, and it actually tensions this bar, so you don't ever get a floppy bar.
floppy
It's
bar.
always perfect.
It makes such a difference.
And it sits, it doesn't.
You
It's not,
rabbited on it with that before, and I was like, I went home and I was like, and it really is. It's just a
It's
case of if you can get that so
perfect.
there's no wiggle in it, it's so much more connected. And you
Yeah.
can just
and
just
it's,
a wee-
it's alive.
Yes.
In comparison to these ones, which kind of suffer a wee bit. See,
Yeah.
It's kind of got.
Aye.
It's actually not.
you
sitting
can't
right.
really. You've got to really know when you're going to use it for
Yeah.
smashing the guitar up at the end of the song, as opposed to being. I just a wee that.
Yeah.
It's just totally instant.
The nice thing about these guitars is that you can actually you can commit whammy abuse on them and the guitars stay in tune.
Yeah.
That's the thing about these guitars. I use these ones in gigs. In fact, a lot of gig photographs you'll see me playing one of these. One of these.
One of these. You had
One
several.
Well, I've got 3, and they're
Yeah.
all like identical apart from where they're made.
Yeah.
And it sounds okay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a neck pickup microphone as well.
I think so.
What about the neck pickup? maple microphone.
It's like a billion guitar. Again, I keep rabbiting on about how resonant guitars are, but I'm probably more sensitive to I think than normal human beings.
Yeah.
But this one's quite a resonant guitar, it's just that.
Yeah.
Actually, talk tip time. See when you get one of these guitars, there's a habit or a practice of taking the necks off of guitars, and people take the necks off of guitars quite often just to be nosy.
Yeah.
And they put them back on again, but they don't put the necks on when the guitar's under tension.
Of course.
So whenever you get a new guitar that's a bolt-on neck, what you do is you get a screwdriver. Once your guitar's in tune perfectly and everything's all set up,
yeah,
you take a screwdriver and you undo the front two, and then you undo the back, but only by a couple of turns.
Yep.
Enough to get the neck actually just making a creaking, horrible noise.
Yeah.
But as soon as you do that, you tighten up the bottom two and the top two, and it actually makes the connection perfect again. Whereas it's not perfect because you get like an air gap at the front.
Yes, so basically you're undoing it, and then because the strings are already pulling it, and it basically pulls into the pocket
all together like a vice.
Yes.
And it gets you the guitar pocketed properly.
Yeah.
So you do get that resonance that I talk about. If it's not done, you can tell the difference. You know what I mean? It's one of the best things to do to anything that's got these kind of quality jobs on it, Fenders, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah. That makes sense. I remember one time my pal had he bought a bridge for his Telecaster, and it was like he tried to put a tunematic bridge on a telly. Right, so you can a tunematic bridge sits up like that, and a telly bridge sits up like that. So I had the tunematic bridge on. It's like, oh,
how come the action's so high?
Yeah. So what he did was he
shimmed the neck.
No, you would think so. What he did was he somehow managed to get the neck on right with the screws, with a gap that you could fit your finger down between the body and the neck, and it was in tune. But the neck was sitting up that high, but it was actually held on with these bolts somehow. He somehow managed to make it.
It could be a thing.
Do that. It sounded awful. It was completely. It was like
it sounded amazing.
No, you just as soon as you just went, it just sounded like did you make it out of a bin? And have you ever played the guitar before? It really was. Yeah. He's like, it's just for slide. It's like even for slide, it just sounded awful.
Yeah. And a Telecaster's a guitar that's so hard to get. I mean, you really have to try hard to get a Telecaster.
Yeah, it's hard to get it wrong, but I mean, basically, one of the ways you can get it wrong is to instead of have a floating neck join, not a floating bridge. You can that would make it worse, but like a floating neck join. Sitting on, when I say it was an inch, it wasn't. You know, it was only that. But I mean, it's just like, so there is definitely something in having it connected on properly
pocketed. The guitars play much better,
and you could probably even argue better than a set neck if you've done that.
Yeah, well, it's as good as a set neck, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I was thinking, well, that doesn't really work. The set neck, but see, obviously you get your through necks. Mm-hmm. You get the Japanese ones or the Korean ones that are kind of copies of that. So you've got the stringers like a Western Thunder. You can see it from the front. Maybe is there something that's obviously you're bolting the maple to a maple centre block. Yeah. For doing that, so there is. I can see how there could be an advantage to that.
There is an
over. You know, it's not as good as a neck through, but it's maybe better than it just going into a solid ash body, having the maple on. You're kind of joining it onto the other hard maple sort of thing.
You're getting there, but I don't know. I'm yet to be convinced there's a significant difference between bolt-ons and set necks.
I think
neck throughs. We can talk about it, but glue-in jobs, I don't really. Do you know what I mean? It's glued.
I don't know. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, well,
I don't think there's really an argument for the question of it's better if you give a choice of a guitar, whether I would want obviously you go for through neck and then set neck. But if you're having to pay extra money for it, is it worth paying more money for?
No.
I don't know.
No.
Maybe
it's good when you get into guitar shops and people start talking about this. We have dark glasses like me because I can roll my eyes like.
I've got my super glasses in the car. I decided not to go for it though.
Yeah, you can't see them pulling a face.
Yeah, but no, I'm going to get one of these.
See if you actually cycle through the sounds. The thing about that guitar is it's like a chameleon that does everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, humbucker. I think you got some smart chap to wire this. I believe, or is this stock wiring?
It's wired as you can download the wiring diagram from the Marzo that shows you how to do Joe Satriani's one, yeah.
Right.
So this is as Joe Sach Joey Santoni would have it.
Right, got you. Yeah, so we've got like a 3-way switch.
Yes.
So 2 humbuckers, volume and a tone, and then that's a dual coil split, which splits both of these into
Singles.
That was, I remember you were asking what it did, and I tapped it with a screwdriver, and it was like, oh, it's the inside coils or the outside coils, can't remember which way around it is, which gives you my favourite sound that you get in these, sort of much cleaner.
Well, it's position. That's position.
Bridge pickup, just to go.
You take the first and second positions on a Strat, and the fourth and fifth. It's the best 2 positions, and it does it really well, considering it doesn't have a middle pickup.
Yeah.
It's very clever.
No, I was just using the.
Yeah. But the way it works is it works really well.
Yes.
I was really pleased to find out that I had positions 2 and 4, because they were my favourite positions on a Strat.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of positioned exactly in the middle of those two, because it's,
you know, it's
instead of being these two or these two, it's these two, so it's.
It sounds great.
I've been calling it a Telecaster sound, but
Yeah.
it's not really, because the thing about a Telecaster is the 2 pickups are very different. I've noticed that with that wee Antoria one, I put dual sonic pickups in it,
Right, yeah.
whereas in a proper Telecaster, regardless of whether it's a good one or not, it's like the bridge pickup's a different kind of pickup.
Yeah.
It's a different everything.
Different thing altogether, yeah.
And so you
very
mix the two
bright
together,
and,
you don't get what we're getting here. This sounds like a Strat in the middle
It
position.
really does sound like a Strat in position 2, and then a Strat in position 4, which is just great.
The neck pickup.
It's surprisingly funky guitar. We can't really show that because I've set him up with a distorted sound.
He set himself up to take the blame, really. That's why he set me up. Yeah, it's also a humbucker on the bridge, also.
It's a great example. You can clean that up slightly.
I think that's quite rough.
You can clean it up. So it shows you how versatile.
Well, I did that. The
was
Milky
that
Bar.
very
So the
versatile?
Milky
It's
Bar Strat.
versatilely good.
It had a humbucker in the bridge and a telly single coil in the neck, and I had it just with a volume control, a tone
And
control.
do you know what? That guitar sounded amazing. It really did.
It only had 2 sounds though,
Yeah,
but it
but
was
done
this sound
perfectly, yeah.
and this sound.
If you
I've been not touching the volume.
essentially that's what you want, isn't it?
Essentially, I know that my thinking was essentially you want 2 sounds,
Yeah.
and if you want 2 sounds, that's the ones you want.
I'm looking for this one. We've not really talked about this one. This one. I'm looking for that as well. Position 2.
You've got to turn volume down. Yeah.
Can you hit that mojo pedal just so as we're not distorted and so it's actually really good.
You were jealous of my super in the middle single coil sounds.
Well, it's got that kind of really bright, stratty brightness, and then you've got the position 2, which it does perfectly.
Yeah.
Considering it's a double humbucker guitar, it's got that.
That's the same thing. It's the outside coils or the inside coils, whatever it is.
It's got that other position 4 as well, which it does perfectly.
Yes. Yeah. So what? But you take the guitar around a bit that way. What you got is in the bridge position 1, you just get a humbucker on the bridge, and then in position 5 you get a humbucker in the neck. So it's the same. Position 3 in the middle is the same as well. It's just both humbuckers, which is the one that I would like to do something else with, but haven't yet worked out how to do it. And then position 2 being the one which would normally be this is outer coils, both split, and then position 4. Four that way. I don't know which way it's meant to go. It's the neck pickup wired in parallel instead of wired in series, which basically gives you a single coil neck pickup, but it's hum cancelling, which gives you the two best sounds on a Strat. Basically, this is like what's the best sound on a Strat. We've got one option. That's what's the 2 best sounds on it is. You want the neck pickup and you want position 1 of the in between pickups.
And then once you put it onto the full humbuckers, and again these are Infinity 1 and 2, which are the early iterations of them. Microphonic is everything, so these aren't like they used to be.
Well, I wonder if they used to be like that 10 years ago. See, I think the wax dries, and if it gets hot, the wax falls off, and they become microphonic. They're not necessarily microphonic at the time. I mean, maybe that's going to start happening. Remember when CDs were going to last forever? And then about 10 years ago, suddenly people started going, oh, these CDs aren't lasting forever. kind of.
No, but
They last forever for a couple of years.
Yeah, for a couple of hours in a car, maybe they last forever, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this fretboard as well is quite a light coloured wood. It says it's rosewood, but I think it looks like powder. What do you think?
I think it's just cheaper rosewood. I used
I've got another one that's the same year, and I think it's from the same factory, and it's the necks. You wouldn't believe the difference with the quality of the rosewood.
I think I was talking to the guy just like Chrissy who had dropped that Epiphone Les Paul off to. He said it's got a much better top than most of the other ones, and it's like some of them will. If you just buy a big massive box of
eventually
tops, some of them are really nice, and in the cheap ones, obviously like your PRS is a guy that goes through it and picks out the really fancy ones for the private stock. At that level, or the modern Gibson Les Pauls, but in the factory they're just going maple top, here we go, bang, 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 and some of them will just by chance be brilliant, and some of them will probably be really plain, and some of them will probably be a bit ugly, you know.
One of the things worth mentioning about IBANEZs is the consistency of them. It doesn't matter how you get it, they can be made to play well, do you know what I mean? You have to try hard to break an IBANEZ. They sit in
they're in that category with Yamaha very much. I know they're two Japanese companies, no, they're not made in Japan.
I don't know, what did I
some of them are, but
let the cat out of the bag. I think I got this for like 160 quid, and it was in as new condition. And I've beaten it up. I've had it for a few years. I
paid 80 for my RG, and it was 80 or 100 in cash converters. When the guy there was two, but really chipped up. That was an RG. It must have been a cheaper guitar though, because it was just a hardtail, and it must be more expensive to have like a big fancy Floyd Rose. It must be 50 quid more expensive. I thought.
If you actually try and buy parts for these, it's more expensive. You're cheaper buying one out the snips and butchering it.
I know.
In fact, there's a guy that's wanting to possibly buy this to do that to that Dremel, and I'm a bit.
I know. It just sits there and it goes. And the only thing, because I bet it's a stupid shape as well.
Yeah. I think
so you've really got to buy that trem, and it's like, I know.
You have to do a bit of routing if you want to put this in one of the older RG guitars because of that malarkey.
And then what you do, you end up like having to try and sell that bridge to somebody. You end up having to sell the body to somebody who's got the whole guitar, but the body's all got splits and stuff that they just need a body. That's the only way you're ever going to sell that. You probably won't sell the neck to like hobbyist folk who think I'm going to put an Ibanez Sabre neck on a Strat copy or something just because so I can get the.
It's actually a great platform for putting better pickups on.
Yes.
A set of Seymour Duncans, the ones that you love and hate. Right, okay, the ones that I love, he hates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I set of Seymour Duncans in this, and it's as good as any guitar that you can play. It's definitely stage worthy. I've proven that. I've played King Tuts, not with this one, but with another one, and it got bashed around, and it was still in tune at the end of the set. Once you tune it, you set it and forget.
It came down to the argument as well. It's like if you're going to, you could just have a couple of them instead of buying one expensive guitar. Just have two of them. And even if you do break it or don't like it, the hundreds of pounds worth of Seymour Duncans you've put in it, you can take them out.
To be honest with you, you can buy a set of Seymour Duncans off the eBay or the Amazon's quite cheap second hand, and have someone that you could self fit them for them, and do all the moddy things to them too, and make it sound like that guitar. Yeah, quite cheaply.
Well, I'm not sure. I definitely didn't wire this because I don't. This was new last time I was here, or I'd not seen it before. Yeah. But I mean, I'm to be honest, if anyone's got one of these for trade, I don't need to have the DiMarzio pickups and stuff like that. But I would have one of these. It's kind of maybe the Pantera's kind of opened my idea to the super roundiness thing. This doesn't look like a kidney that's been dropped.
When I first got it, it took me a few weeks actually to fall in love with that guitar because it was broken when I first got it.
Yeah, I know.
But I got some money back off the guy and it made it all nice and better. Once again, I spent some time on it. It's good. But yeah, budget guitars that are definitely worth getting.
Well, worth keeping because you've kept them.
If you look at the ends of the spectrum in Ibanez, which is going to bring us nicely onto that monster over there.
Yes.
Yeah, when you get from one end of the spectrum to the other, there's not that much of a difference really in the playing experience if you set your guitar up properly.
Yeah.
But if you when you get a guitar like this and you spend the time, or you give the guitar to someone like you to go and set it up properly and do the neck right and get the frets lovely and shiny and the pickups set properly, it's as the playing experience is getting towards that.
Yeah. Doesn't have the prestige though.
Well, it's not a prestige guitar.
Yeah,
it doesn't cost more than £2,000 to buy new.
Yeah.
This you can pick up again for sub 200 quid.
I can see if you want a really nice one to play Madison Square Garden or your big gig, but if you're playing the pub, why not just have two of them in the van, and if one of them...
Yeah, even you get the fancier finished ones and all. It's up to you, but I think this looks pretty good because you can respray this if you want.
You could. I think one of the things I like about this one is the fact that it's the white. I've got something for white guitars, and it really suits this. And also, I know it's a stupid thing to say, but I like the way it's not black hardware.
Yeah. Because
you get like a lot of white guitars, and they go, "Oh, black hardware," and it kind of not. The silver's just a little bit more classy looking.
What we'll do is we'll swap. I'll give you a shot of this because that's now played officially, and you can have this one, and I'll take the.
You can take all the echoey, reverby stuff, which I will do a video for.
And I'll have that one.
Right, no, but we'll call it an end at this video then.
Yeah, well, hold on.
So,
sorry. Ibanez.
We've been on for half an hour. I meant to be. It was like we'll do 10-minute episodes with two guitars, but it's all right. I've kind of got back into the swing of things again.
Ibanez S-type Sabre.
Ibanez GS100 Joe Satriani with Fred and Wilma pickups,
and the other upgrades, yes,
and a different bridge. But ultimately, the ones I'm sure it would in it were probably all right.
They definitely are.
Yeah, I bet they're still the same type of pickups. I think these pickups are maybe they're not. I don't know. They're maybe a bit more vintagey sounding.
It's the gift that keeps on giving when you collect guitars. You notice it when you start to cycle through the guitars, and occasionally you'll come across a guitar which started off life as a bass guitar, but somebody at some points put really tasty upgrades in it and sold it on for the price without the upgrades. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I did with that one.
Yes, I got one. I bought a.
I mean, I was literally dancing about in my living room when I opened up those pickups. So I was like,
yes. Yeah, I got one that was an Ibanez. It said custom on the fingerboard.
Oh right, yeah, custom made.
It was just the neck though, right? And it was attached. Someone had made it into a strap body, or like they'd made the strap body, and they'd managed to make the scoop do this, so the neck was kind of sitting on an extension socket, and it didn't play, and I bought it. I ended up paying £100 for it because I thought it.
You know, that's something we can actually.
There was bits that looked good, and basically when I got this thing, the guitar played dung. It had a Fishman power bridge in it, £400. It had a DiMarzio and a Seymour Duncan, and it had Gotoh tuners, and the pièce de résistance had an Ibanez backstop in it.
So all tasty.
An Ibanez backstop's a wee spring thing that goes in here. That there was a copyright problem with it, so they couldn't do it. And I got 220 quid for it.
Man.
For the Ibanez backstop.
See if you turn round the guitar, see if you look at the back of that guitar, it's quite nice. It's got the wee.
I was going to say it's got a big crack on it, but that's somebody's hair. I'd imagine it's probably mine.
Yours? Yeah, it's got its nice sculpted back in that, and this one's again nice and skinny.
That's quite an ugly.
Isn't it? But it's nice.
That's not a good angle for this guitar. Well, it does have this scoop here.
It does, but when you're playing,
which is kind of pointless, but it's there.
But again, see if you look at the neck as well. It's got the same. If you look at the way a Strat's made, usually Ibanez's are an arch back. See that? Mine's arches right back, and his is completely flat, like a Strat.
Like a Strat, straight head string pull, which is one of the things that I bet probably does make a difference. It makes it it's why it feels like a Strat, sort of.
That's that.
It's still quite square up at the top for the neck. It's not really stratty at the edges. It feels it's kind of. It's a funny one, yeah.
It's getting.
It seems.
But the thing
seems
is,
to have a wide fingerboard.
If you look at the JS1000, the upper range one, the neck's the same.
Aye. It would just be nicer wood.
Well, it's been finished better. The edges rolled. The edges are rolled. This one's naturally done it because it's old.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's the difference between the
Ibanez S types.
Ibanez S types. Rocking. Ooh.